Welcome. I'm Alfred Lammermont Weber, and we're here with Dr. Raymond Keller on a program called My Time Travel Experiences. And we'd also like to, this is the world premiere of his new book, which he'll be talking about these. I'd like to add that to the stream. Flying Saucers and the Venus Legacy by Raymond Andrew Keller II. Dr. Keller, Ray, could you tell us a bit about your book?
Yes, I would be delighted to. As you can see, it's titled Flying Saucers and the Venus Legacy. And you, the viewers of this program, are seeing the cover of the book for the very first time. And it's the sixth book in the Venus Rising series, and it's published by headlinebooks.com, so it can be pre-ordered as of today. It's already at the printing press up in Michigan, and will be mailed out shortly. And then if you want to order it on Amazon, it'll be posted there this evening, and you could order the book directly from Amazon. Just type in Keller Venus in Amazon, and it'll show you all my Venus books, and Flying Saucers and the Venus Legacy will appear there this evening. So this is a very interesting book because it deals with the Venus experience through the eyes of not only myself, but many other contactees that have come and gone before me, some not so well known, of which I have all the exclusive files, never before seen photographs, even from the beginnings of the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, Coral and Jim Lorenzen in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and Woodrow Derenberger of Mineral Wells, West Virginia, outside of Parkersburg. His original documents for the book he wrote about his encounter with Indrid Cold, a being from the planet Lanulos, as well as Venusians, Martians, and other beings from right here in our own solar system. So it's a very exciting book with lots of firsthand, never before seen information. So it's just a great privilege and an honor to be here today with Dr. Weber to share this information with you.
Oh, well, thank you very, very much. And where can people get this book again?
The book is available on headlinebooks.com. It's already posted up there under new books and featured books, headlinebooks.com. That's in Terra Alta, West Virginia. And then this evening it will be posted on, along with my other Venus books, on Amazon.com. So just type in Keller Venus and be one of the first ones to get the book. You'll be able to pre-order it.
Oh, very, very good. Okay, so can you see my image now, Dr. Keller? Oh, I think we lost Dr. Keller a moment. Hopefully he'll be coming back shortly. I'm not sure why that happened. Yes, so we're waiting for Dr. Raymond Keller to come back and to click, let me see if I can send him an email so that he'll be ready to come back. And I don't know how that particular thing happened. Let me get him again. Dr. Raymond Keller. Good, here we go. Here we go. So we're waiting for Dr. Keller to join us again. I don't know quite what occurred there, but we're waiting for him to join us to talk about his time travel experiences. Oh, here he is.
I do see
Oh,
you.
good. Oh, good.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, great. Here we are.
Yeah, this is technology. If it has more than one moving part, it becomes awfully confusing.
Okay, good. So we're all back. Oh, good. So it's very good to learn about your new book, and that'll be on Amazon.com tonight. Flying Saucers in the Venus Legacy. And does that include the time travel material in that book?
Yes, there's some time travel material in there because it does relate as well to the many other contactees that are in that book.
Okay.
It's a common feature to the Venus and Confederation of Light experience.
Very, very good. Well, as you know, when I first when we spoke about this, we spoke about your first book and your new book, and also we spoke about your coming on to do an interview on your time travel experiences for my new book, which is now in preparation. It's a forthcoming book. And this interview and your experiences will be part of that book on the chronography. And what the chronography is, it's how a secret time travel power structure manipulates human events, human history, and the interlife. And so that is what we're going to be asking you about, so that we're gathering as much information as possible from people who have had time travel experiences or know about them, know about the knowledge of the future, the past, etc. And so we can gather all of this information about the time stream, how it's constructed, how it's used. So I'm going to turn it over to you to share with us as much as possible in this. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. I began to write about time travel in the very first one, Venus Rising, a concise history of the second planet, and explored different experiments that were going on here on Earth with time travel, with Dr. John Wheeler and many others. Some might recall that back in the 1960s there was a program on television called the Time Tunnel, which kind of popularized the theme for people of my generation, the youth at that time. And it was it's supposed to be a top secret project that was miles underground, and it was oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's hard to show the thing there, but it makes you wonder whether such a thing really exists. Well, apparently it does, because time travel is possible, but it's not quite the way that we imagine it to be. So it's a little bit different, and it involves some scientific concepts that we all understand. We know that you know when you're listening to the radio, for example, you could pick up the same signal on an octave. You could pick it up, and there's actually, like any other wave, uh, time, time, gravity, any other wave. It moves in octaves through the omniverse, and there's beside our world and our timeline, there are 7 others that that we can tune into, and while we can't go directly uh, to our own future uh, or past, we can look at the uh, events in parallel worlds, and that will give us an idea of generally the flow of time and the direction that we're heading in. And that was my experience, and Lady Columba's experiences as well, that are outlined in the book, uh, Lady Columba, Venus Revelations, and that's book number 5 in the series. That was the one that was most recently published. So she traveled with the Venusians to a base on the far side of the moon, and then went through the time barrier to look at a parallel Earth, uh, what she called Earth 4, to see what the future of our Earth might be, to help warn us and deliver us a message. So she was with the Venusians. She was with them on the far side of the moon at a base there, under dome structures. She was undersea bases, in vast caverns in the Earth, and space platforms um, in beyond the gravitational pull of the Earth and the moon, in space, but within our solar system, and was shown many things, and traveled with a Russian cosmonaut. And it's a pretty amazing book. It was written by Columba Krebs from all of her notes and documents, and fully illustrated by her as well, with advanced beings from other planets, humanoid and otherwise, hybrid creatures. And remember, this is 1957 through 1961, and it's just amazing book. It's already won awards in San Francisco. It came in second place, so it's well written, and it's startling Venus Revelations. Lady Columba Venus Revelations is the name of that book.
Right. So what are some of your time travel experiences?
My own, I largely wrote about in the 3rd book in the series. It's Cosmic Ray's Excellent Venus Adventure. I was with a friend, Dolores Barrios. That's herself and myself on the cover, and I had met her in China, and we traveled to an ascension party, and traveled to Venus from China, from a remote location in Tibet, and it's all documented in the book. And I had some people from some very high important organizations come and contact me to verify my experiences. They asked me about certain locations in Tibet and everything, and I was able to answer their questions correctly, so that they know that this is that this is for real. Well, I had gone there, and there's a temple of history on Venus, and there are a group called the Metrons, and they monitor the ebb and flow of time through the space-time continuum. And we can monitor different anomalies or different events in different timelines, and was monitoring events on Earth back on the first Flying Saucer Convention at Giant Rock in April of 1954, early April of 1954. And in the process of monitoring that, we were unaware that there were nuclear tests, atomic tests that were scheduled a couple weeks before and a week after our visit there. And this caused the flow of tachyons to go back and forth, and our time probe crashed at the Flying Saucer Convention. And there was a couple there, Pal and Dixie Garrett of the Paradise, California Interplanetary Spaceship Club, which was an organization that was established by Daniel Fry, and it was one of the first UFO groups in the country, civilian UFO groups. Anyway, Pal and Dixie Garrett were visiting all of the UFO flying saucer meetings up and down the West Coast, and they saw our time probe materialize and started to crack up, and it was turning multicolors between orange and green, and just breaking up, and we had to bail out, and they took a picture of us on the ground, and then people from the campsite that had come there took pictures of the object exploding, and it was published in the newspapers on April 5th in Los Angeles, of the object blowing up, as well as there's other pictures of Dolores by herself that were in the newspaper. This is 3 months before her younger self had appeared at Mount Palomar with George Adamski at a spacecraft convention there. And so this is really incredible, because it's documented my visit with Dolores in the newspaper in Los Angeles. The photograph was taken by the newspaper reporter there from the paper as well, and it's all about what we encountered there. We had to find a Venusian safe house, so we rendezvoused with another contactee named Truman Betherum, who helped us to get in contact with another space commander, and then later to go to the North Hollywood Hills to a Venusian safe house. And it's just a really fantastic adventure. And that's why I call it Cosmic Rays Excellent Venus Adventure. But it's all documented, including photographs, newspaper accounts that you can check up there. And we're still not sure whether we broke through into a parallel Earth, whether we're in a parallel Earth now instead of our own. So it's just incredible, because the actual newspaper article and the photographs and everything aren't found in this. They're not found in this timeline. So it's or haven't been found in this timeline. So it's very freaky. And so I'm not sure whether the tachyon the tachyon accident caused us to slip through a rift in the space-time continuum and to end up on a parallel Earth. But, well, here I am. And
Yeah.
I guess,
So
I guess here I'll stay.
yeah. So would you say that the hypothesis is that you may have slipped into a parallel Earth then, and you're still on that parallel Earth, and what you're experiencing now, us, is a parallel Earth?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So that we who are talking to you now are part of the parallel Earth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. In other words, my Earth one and your Earth one may be two different, maybe in two different timelines.
Now, when did that event occur in the chronology of your Earth one?
Okay, it occurred in the year 2012, in January of on January of 2013 we were in Venus, and that's when we made the jump. And it's a device that the time probe. I have a picture of it, and I also found one. Among the drawings of Dominic Lucchesi when he also met Commander Aura Raines, and he drew a picture of a time probe and her stepping out of it, and that's in one of my Venus books as well. Let me show you that one so you get an idea. If I can find it here. So I also have pictures there that from that Interplanetary Spacecraft Convention in 1954 of George Hunt Williamson and many others that never been seen before, which are really amazing.
Well, if I could validate something, would that be okay?
Oh, sure.
Because there's a website called positivefuture.info that we've created to document this. And according to that documentation, which has been documented in many different ways, number one, the DARPA CIA in 1971 held a special one-time time probe from 1971 to 2013, and it found the Supreme Court building in Washington D.C. under brackish water. In other words, it was inundated, and most of the coastal cities of the world were inundated because there had been it was a catastrophic timeline, and some catastrophe had taken place. Possibly an astrological object had entered the solar system and had caused an astrological catastrophe on Earth to inundate all of the coastal cities. And what the one-time time probe of DARPA CIA Project Pegasus time travel program found that the U.S. Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. was under 20 feet of brackish water. And that was confirmed to me personally. I interviewed the DARPA chrononaut Andrew D. Bashaga, who did that. And as a result of that, then President Richard Nixon ordered the DUMBs, the Deep Underground Military Bases, in 1971 to be made, because they thought they were going to have a global catastrophe in 2013. Then, and so everybody was awaiting that global catastrophe in 2013. Then what happened is that January of 2013 came about, and the global catastrophe did not happen. But what happened is that we have photographs of up by Russia of these celestial bodies that passed by the Earth and did not hit the Earth. So it seems as though the Earth was moved to a different timeline at the end of 2012, so as to not experience that catastrophe. And so that confirms independently, and this is the first independent confirmation that I've had, and I've been writing about this extensively in books as well, of this shift in the timeline of the Earth. So it's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Watson. We have proved in parallel timelines, you on Venus and us here on Earth, that there was a shift in the timeline of the Earth, so as to avoid a shift that they had identified in a one-time time probe from 1971 to the year 2013. And when it got to 2013, it did not happen because the Earth had been shifted in timeline. Isn't that amazing?
It is. That is amazing, and it was an important juncture in time. The end of 2012 and the beginning of 2013. A lot of amazing things were happening besides just the Mayan calendar. That was an important assembly of all the Venusian operatives on Earth in the Tibetan Plateau, and the time is very, very important. And a lot of the stuff in my writing and research involves just people coming to me, giving me knowledge and awareness of things that are going on. Of course, I write about Project White Stork, which is the American government's surveillance of the Soviets and now the Russians' search for extraterrestrial intelligence. This is a book that you won't. This is from the government printing office. It's an internal NASA document. And you know that Helena Blavatsky said that the immensity of space was filled with intelligences and filled with life. And of course, George Adamski wrote in his first three books on flying saucers that all of the planets in our solar system are inhabited. And this is a NASA document. It's internal. When biospheres collide, and it's a very thick book, and it deals with the Moon, Mars, and Venus in particular, and about all the extreme precautions that are being taken in sending probes there, as well as future probes and missions, because they're telling us these are dead, lifeless orbs, but here they have, they have tons of technical information and uh, statistics and schematics for equipment, protective gear, and so forth to avoid contamination, or cross contamination between the Earth, the Moon, Mars, and Venus. So, what they tell you is one thing, but the existence of a secret space program and the kind of exopolitics that you're talking about, Dr. Weber. I mean, it's obvious. It's out there, and it's documented, and so whenever I find that kind of information, I put it in my Venus books. That's why I've already written 6 of them, and there's 4 more that are already written that I'm just timing the release on. Now I had open heart surgery, and at the Veterans Hospital in Pittsburgh, so I don't know how long I'll be on the Earth plane, but I want to get this information out before I transition on. It's very important to me. So I don't really care about money. I don't promote any organization or church or sect or cult or anything like that. I just write my Venus books, and I self-finance them, and they won international awards. So they're well written. Even if people don't believe them, they're very enlightening, and they're fully documented, over 600 footnotes in just the first one, and anybody can follow up and verify that that research. I'm not making it up. I don't have anything to gain by making up any stories. This is all real. People like Peter Core, he was the one who brought George Adamski and George Hunt Williamson together. He was an atomic scientist in the 1950s, worked at the Livermore Labs in California. He provided me with a lot of assistance and information in writing the book. Have some pictures of him with me at his home. I can't tell you his real name, but he wrote as Peter Core when he was writing with Raymond Palmer for Amazing Stories in Amherst, Wisconsin, and Flying Saucers magazine, and so forth. Oh, here's this is a drawing by Dominic Lucchesi, and this is from a 1954 issue of Nexus magazine. That's Commander Aura Raines. That's the cover of the Nexus magazine, of her stepping out of a time probe. And then I have an actual schematic, a blueprint of what he saw in the interior of the time probe. It's very detailed and everything. And so when people get my Venus books, they can see all this information firsthand for themselves. There's Commander Raines in her Earth identity at that time is Evelyn Smith. There she is with Long John Nebel from WOR New York at one of the interplanetary spaceship conventions. All these photos, this. This is the Dominic Lucchesi part. He was a radio engineer in New Jersey, and he was an associate of Albert K. Bender, the first one to write about the Men in Black, and the chair of the International Flying Saucer Bureau. There's a cover of Nexus, illustrated by Dominic Lucchesi. You see Mount Etna in the background, the goddess Venus, and then a Venusian Ventla, or a scout ship. That was 1954. And Yeah, this is Dominic Lucchesi and his call sign as a ham radio operator. And then this device that you see in the upper corner there is it's a Nimbus. It's a communication device. It does a lot of other things as well. It's a Venusian device that he can keep in contact with the Venusians, and that's him at the bottom. And yeah, here's his drawing. That's his drawing of Commander Aura Raines, the commander of the moon-based Clarion. That's on the far side of the moon, and it contains an actual. I went to see Dominic in the 1960s. I drove out there with a friend to the flying saucer meeting that was in New York. This is Peter Core, the scientist and writer that worked with Raymond Palmer, and that's me with Peter Core. So all my information is firsthand, never been seen before, and it's really astounding. And once you read it and take it in, you'll know that that Venusians are real. They call their planet Abahar, which means planet of the bees, and that the experiences not only of myself but of the countless others in my Venus books are true and accurate.
Right. So you mentioned that along with others, you've explored some alternative futures of Earth. Is that something that you've done, or was that what we just covered now?
Oh yes. Yes, this is a very detailed subject, and the book that I have, Lady Columba Venus Revelations, is based on all of her drawings and her personal notes and her writings, and I've compiled them all together and provided a unique account of one parallel Earth called Earth 4 up until the year 2063, and about 10 years past that. And that book is already going into its second printing. This is it, Lady Columba Venus Revelations. So she travels with a Russian cosmonaut, and I've actually interviewed people that saw her and the cosmonaut come down and step off of a flying saucer when they returned to Earth at Natahutton, Ohio, in 1961, and they helped them to get to a safe house in Cleveland, where there was a Russian family with the help of a Russian Orthodox priest, and that's all documented in here as well. And this is a drawing by Annabelle Krebs. That's can be seen at the University of Arizona at Tucson, and this depicts the Great Soul. This is what Annabelle saw on the far side of the moon. It's a facility where the DNA of individuals is taken right before they die, that people that can be very helpful to the Venusians and to the Confederation planet of planets. There's 601 planetary members from 51 solar systems, as Daniel Fry and others have explained. And they take that DNA and they reconstitute a teenage body equivalent of a teenager, and then their consciousness is removed, and then with the help of a technician, then it's re-downloaded. Their consciousness is re-downloaded and they're reanimated into a new body. So I have pictures of Annabelle Krebs as a teenager in the year 1918 during the first great pandemic, the Spanish flu. And she was living with her mother and sister running a boarding house in New York City. And then I have a picture of her materializing at a flying saucer club meeting in the woods in Northwest Pennsylvania in the year 2017. And she looks exactly identical. There's no difference in her appearance. And so this book also has original art by Annabelle Krebs, and I could share some of it here with you. Yeah, here's one is the cosmic evolution of souls. These are higher selves, aspects of the higher selves of both Alexander and Annabelle, and in higher dimensions. And see if I can find some other ones there. Just I want to find the one with the there's an interplanetary council meeting on the space platform Leviathan that was launched from the far side of the moon, where there were delegates from the planetary confederation that were in attendance. Oh yeah, here we go. Remember, these were made in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Here you see Commander Vorton emceeing or addressing the delegates, and then the woman with the beret seated next to at the table is Commander Aura Rain. She's the commander of the moon base Clarion on the far side of the moon. Then you see like a kind of blue avian type creature there, like a bird creature. There's a hybrid human and bee, an elephantine creature, and all the information about these beings and the planets they come from and everything. Annabelle writes as Lady Columba in the Lady Columba Venus Revelations. This book was number 2. Just last week was number 2 in all books for unexplained mysteries. And the Venus Rising, my first book, last week or just a few days ago was number one in all UFO books. So they're very popular, and if you want to know a real disclosure about UFOs and what's going on in outer space, for real, going back with the pure story of the contactees from the early 1950s forward, that hasn't been lost and obscured by all this fear and so forth. It's in my books. So, I just urge you all to get that. Now, I did have some questions from people from the last time that I was on the show, the program, if you would like me to share those.
Okay. Let's do that.
So we have a few of them, and it's the first one is in your Venus book. frequent mention is made of reincarnation. How does this esoteric subject relate to the Venusians? And the answer is many souls on Earth and other planets in the solar system and beyond reincarnate on Venus, having reached the highest plateau of spiritual mastery in this density, preparatory to their transition into higher dimensions. In turn, after several lifetimes on Venus, some souls return to the spheres of lower degree in order to serve the inhabitants of these worlds as teachers or avatars of a cosmic gnosis, essential for guiding their students in making their own transition to Venus onward and upward as it is. Okay, now, so that's an important message to keep in mind, because we go through about 12 or 13 or so incarnations on this physical plane before we're ready to ascend to another orb, another celestial orb. So most of the brothers and sisters of Venus working here on Earth have been here before in prior incarnations. Essentially, they are attempting to awaken us to the reality of our own misguided thinking in so many avenues. They long ago succeeded in honing their intellects and setting aside their individual egos. Those that are reincarnated here on Earth are always to be found channeling their energies into service on behalf of others. Of course, they are interested in accomplishment, but never for themselves. They are always working for the benefit of all. Should one arrive at the point of being reincarnated on Venus, there is a hall of records there that can be freely accessed to reveal all previous incarnations in the denser realms. This hall of records has a machine that taps into a crystal ice cave beneath the windswept surface of the planet Uranus. You can literally find out anything you want to know about any prior lifetime, of your own. There are a few individuals who have bypassed the so-called wheel of life, however, and these are the ones who have been translated to Venus for their worthy deeds on Earth in behalf of their fellow beings. Annalie Scaran of American Falls, Idaho, who was born on the 7th day of the 7th month in the year of 1899, was taken up bodily from Mount Shasta in California. She never experienced a physical death and went straight up to Venus. Now she looks like a beautiful teenager. The key to this bodily translation is found in her esoteric books. I can't praise Annalie Scaran enough. Her books constitute a marvelous work and a wonder. So that addresses this subject of reincarnation that so many have questions about. Now, another question was, you have frequently mentioned the concept of and state of happiness in many of your lectures. Can you elaborate on this from a Venusian perspective? So, of course, it's always a great pleasure to speak about that. I want the people attending my lectures and listening to me to know that the Venusians are a happy people. This is a type of happiness that should not be equated with emotionalism and the drama that accompanies it here on Earth. The Venusians possess an inner joy that comes from carrying out a task well done. Everything the Venusians do carries an embedding of their own individual and collective life force. Suffice it to say, the Venusians have the utmost respect for everything. This is because they recognize the divine spark in all of us, in all of creation, and especially other sentient beings that they share the cosmos with as our brothers and sisters and nearest planetary neighbors. So what about fears? Are the Venusians afraid of death as we are? Well, the Venusians realize that the material body is something akin to a garment. When it wears out, they know that the time is fast approaching when they can simply change it for a new one. having an assurance of reincarnation, there is no guesswork about the afterlife. It is no longer necessary for Venusians to live by faith. They passed that stage of their cosmic evolution countless millennia ago. The Venusians have attained to an awareness that when they move on to some other sphere of existence, they will be provided with a material body constituted of the elements of their new planetary environment. Their body will be perfectly adapted to the physical conditions that they will find there in their new celestial home. So that brings to the question of, well, just how many inhabited worlds are there? Well, in the Gnostic Gospels, Jesus the Christ explained that the inhabited omniverse was vast and that not even the angels were privy to the knowledge pertaining to the ends of it, if it even has any points of demarcation. The great esoteric teacher Helena Blavatsky also declared that the immensity of space was filled with intelligences. Now, Helena Blavatsky was the co-founder of the Theosophical Society. She was born in the Ukraine in 1830 and died in the British Isles in 1891. But she wrote the very first book called History of a Planet, which was all about Venus. And when I wrote Venus Rising, A Concise History of the Second Planet, 135 years later, I felt that it was time for an update. We had to get an update on what's going on Venus. So I tried to pick up where Helena Blavatsky left off. So our space sector includes the planets and their attendant moons in the solar system, as well as the planetary systems in orbit around the closest stars. These are also 51 solar systems with habitable planets composing what can best be called the Galactic Confederation of Light. Venus is the governing planet in our local star sector. And so do the space people worship God as we do, or do they have anything that we would consider to be religion? So they do not worship God per se as we understand God to be, but recognize that there is an infinite creator constituted of spirit that permeates the entire fabric of the cosmos. They see the divine spark of the infinite creator in everything and everybody. There is no religion higher than truth. Manifesting kindness assures one's continual progress up the celestial ladder to cosmic perfection. There is no need for religious laws and ordinances when kindness is the prime motivator in life. They do recognize Jesus the Christ as the supreme manifestation on earth of God consciousness. They also greatly esteem the Buddha, Luther, Mary, Muhammad, Rumi, Annalie Scaran, and other avatars that have incarnated from Venus and other celestial orbs to redeem us from the darkness and lead us into the path of further and perfect illumination. So, yeah, that was an answer to some listeners of this program and others and readers of my articles that I post on Lon Strickler's website, phantomsandmonsters.com. And I hope that everybody was able to get something out of that.
Yes, thank you very much. Are there any things in terms of what has been said in those predictions, or looking down the timeline for Earth 4 through 2063 that jumps out at you that you'd like to share? I mean, knowing that it's Earth 4 and we don't know what Earth we're on.
Well, there were shifting alliances and the manipulation of certain technologies. There was the development of quark bombs that were used in a war that had to be cleaned up. This is like 6 decades from now, 6 or 7 decades from now, and there were teams of interplanetarians, extraterrestrials who had come to Earth from the, from this and other timelines to help us out. There was also like now there's a great fear of China, but in Earth 4 they're a fast friend of the United States or North American alliance in a future in a future, and it talks about all these shifting alliances and some military strategies in the course of this war and events in space, things that were being done to help the Earth to pick itself up and to make itself worthy to be a member of the Interplanetary Federation.
Right, right. Now we've heard a lot of disparate views, different views of the outcome of the current. I'm going to just use its first initial, the P, just so that we don't get into trouble with the bots. Some people say that in some countries lose 2/3 of its population, and other prophets like Chico Javier say, this is the prophesized time, and there's going to be no World War III, and humanity is going to join the peaceful galactic confederation of worlds. So there seems to be a lot of difference. Have you run across any future examinations of the impact of the P?
Oh, yes. Well, Commander Aura Rames gave us an awareness of this issue and said that in the context of the biblical prophecies about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, that the pale horse had not yet begun to ride across the skies. So what this means is that while the P was certainly severe, it was essentially just a trial run.
And what is the purpose of this? Is this to of these trials of these? Is this to separate the wheat from the chaff? Why is there such hardship planned for Earth?
Well, Dr. Weber, it's more or less that the inhabitants of the Earth and their leadership, their designated leadership, has allowed these things to turn into a runaway train. Let's just put it that way. If these things were left in nature and not tampered with, and we wouldn't have opened up this Pandora's box. And we saw that 30 years ago, with Ebola and other,
I see.
Transmissible things, that when you start digging up the pristine wilderness and jimmying with human nature, or with Mother Nature, that we kind of have ourselves to blame, bringing this on ourselves, unfortunately.
I see. Okay. So, well, we've been going now for so there's a couple of questions in in the chat, should we, do you want to take some of the questions from the
sure,
chat?
sure. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
So James Neal asks, is there a Planet X or a red dwarf or something like that coming?
Yes, there is a Planet X, and I write about it extensively in my second book, which is called "The Final Countdown: Rockets to Venus," and this has to do with my interviews with Lady Ankara, Venusian Commander, as well as Dr. Kiva Fall Makete. He's a Dogon ancestry, and he comes from West Africa, and has helped me with a lot of research regarding the Sirius mystery. And it seems that there is a brown dwarf star in the vicinity of Sirius A and B, which doesn't orbit them but is close by. It's a brown dwarf because it hasn't flared into a star, but it's like a a, a, a Jovian Jupiter type world that could become just like a low level star. But there's a planet which revolves around it called Anu, and um, according to or it did orbit around there, and um, some countless millennia ago, it broke free and began to drift across the voids of space when it was trapped within the gravitational field of our solar system in the outer planets, and it makes a very extremely elliptical orbit and comes around about every 5,500 years or so, and very close to the Earth, passing by the Earth and the other planets. And because it's not on the plane of the ecliptic like the other planets, we can't see it until it's right above us. So if you were at the poles, if you were at uh, the North Pole, for example, you might be able to see it when it's passing by. But its influence is very real. And, when you read the works of Immanuel Velikovsky and others, Worlds in Collision, and so forth, about the influence of these interloping planetary bodies, uh, like Anu, you'll see that it's real. And in the book Final Countdown: Rockets to Venus, I document astronomical research going back to the 19th century by French astronomers and others observing the Sirius star sector to the current day about the existence of a planet X, to prove the planetary highly elliptical orbit of this rogue body that's in our solar system.
Right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Now, another question about negative spiritual beings like Lucifer. There's the Lucifer, the alleged Lucifer rebellion, where a number, some say 37 or so contiguous planets went and rebelled against, at the spiritual level, the order of things. Is there any resonance in this in your Venus literature and the Lucifer rebellion being over, or that was part of Jesus's mission, was to begin to put an end to the Lucifer?
Oh yes,
rebellion.
very good question. Now, all the religions of the planet Earth have legends and descriptions of conflicts and even battles between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. In Judaism, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the sons of light versus the sons of darkness. In the Vedas of India, we have huge battles with fantastic weapons taking place in the skies and on the land, things that would seem to us to be descriptions of atomic weapons. George Adamski, in his books and on his lecture tour, was asked that same question, and he said, of course, outer space is a big place, and there are good guys as well as bad guys there. And in the New Testament, it talks about 1/3 of the hosts of heaven um, rebelling against the forces of light, and then Michael and his angels being dispatched to put down the rebellion. So when we look around the solar system, some of the devastation on the moon and Mars that's visible, we could tell that there were these great battles. And then referring again to ancient India, we know about these powerful craft called the Vimana and the Merkaba and so forth that would traverse the skies. Some of these were floating fortresses, as well as spacecraft, the smaller ones, the Ventlas, the scout ships. There's descriptions of all these in the ancient Vedas. So we know that this is real, that there are forces of light and there are forces of darkness. But I did attend theology school for a while, but I didn't complete it. I went to the Community of Christ Temple School, Graceland University in Independence, Missouri, and so I learned a little bit about Bible prophecy and so forth. I do believe that there are angels that are watching over us, and like Billy Graham said, he doesn't see a difference between angels and aliens. I know that Psalms 91 said that the Lord God Almighty has sent his angels in charge over thee to protect thee and to serve thee. And Hebrews 13, chapter 13, verse 2 says that we should always be kind to one another, for know ye not that ye entertain angels unawares. So I commend you for that question, and I would, of course, defer to the side of the angels. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Keller. Now, there's just one question. Shauna Marie Sings asks, Dr. Keller, does the number 11 have any particular significance with Venus?
The number 11, no, for the Earth, because of the way we measure time. The number 11 would be significant as for the countdown of a coming major event, like 11/11, for example, would have a highly symbolic meaning. The numbers that are significant for the planet Venus are those in the Fibonacci sequence, because the name that the Venusians have for their planet is Abahar, which means the planet of the bees. And the Fibonacci numbers in the grand spiral, it's like in the waggle dance of the bees. The grand spiral is noted in some of the crop circles, which is a calling card of the Venusian presence. The Fibonacci numbers, as in the direct orbital relationship of the Earth to Venus, for every higher Fibonacci number of orbits for Venus being closer to the Sun, the next lowest Fibonacci number will will exactly match the orbits of Earth, and the number of bees in any given hive is always going to be a Fibonacci number. So we get the Fibonacci number by adding the number previously, and then when we graph it out, it forms the golden spiral. So you would have uh, uh, 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8. 8 and 5 would be 13. So the closest number to 11 would be 13, which would have a significance, a great significance on Venus.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, we have questions coming in. Well, let me ask, there's a Venus question and then there's a significant other question. I'll go with this Venus question first. Is there a bee library on Venus?
A bee library, yes. Yes. Now, the original inhabitants, humanoid inhabitants of Venus, come from a planet called Norca in the Tau Ceti system. Their planet was dying out from desertification, and so they launched out in spaceships some 25 million years ago when they arrived at our solar system, and they saw that there was already a kind of mammalian life that was developing on the Earth at that time. These were these lemur-like creatures, and so they didn't want to take the Earth, but they were able, with their technology, to communicate with the indigenous inhabitants of Venus, which were these very large bees, and so they were given permission to settle near the northern polar regions of Venus, around the area where now we call that region Maxwell Montes. It's one of the largest mountain structures in the solar system. And the Russian probe measured the temperature there. It's only about 84 degrees Fahrenheit, the Venera probe. So there's a lot there about that. But the Venusians have been passing information about the bees. They introduced the smaller bees to the Earth. There are many varieties on Venus of bees, many on Earth, and so they're specialists. You could find a lot of Venusians secretly working as beekeepers and so forth. I have well, I have to bring it in a future program, but I have a postcard from a Venusian working in Ohio in a bee. In an apiary in Ohio, in a rural area of Ohio in the year 1908. And she drew, her nickname was Minnie, and she drew, this is 1908. And she drew a cartoon on there of Minnie Mouse. And I have it, it's postmarked 1908 and everything, and it's from a bee, a honey producing enclave in rural Ohio.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a few questions because they're starting to ask. One is this. It's the whole thing. Could you talk about the beast, the Antichrist? I guess it's 666, and will the Sons of Light war against the Antichrist 666 on Earth? And I guess that includes the Luciferian New World Order, all of that.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on your religious perspective. Maybe the whole evil world system would be under the power of a kind of like Antichrist, or the power of the devil, the prince and power of the air, like the Bible says. But all I know is that I do believe the Bible, and I do believe that we should pay attention, as Jesus said, pay attention to the times, the times and seasons, because there are certain indications that this world is at the at at in the latter days, at the end of this system of things. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I wouldn't know, who the individual was. But uh, other than that, if the Bible says it, I believe it.
Okay. So here is the basic question that runs through various questioners. Hudada Mirna Rodriguez. I will let you answer it in your own way. Mirna says, see vibrational frequencies of our planets and solar system, Elena Bensoff scalar technology. She's saying that the frequency of Venus was low vibe of 50 apathy, whereas the Earth was 700 of enlightenment, and humans 200 courage, first frequency and light. And then another person asks, is Venus ruled by the dark side? So if you could talk to these sector of people.
Oh, okay, sure. I would be delighted to do that. I'll try my best to answer it. Now, all worlds are in a state of development, of cosmic evolution. Many of our brothers and sisters of other planets in the ancient of days were once as we are now, and we're developing our potential to become as they are now. But we still have a long way to go. Most people don't realize that we have a vast untapped potential within us, that we have powers that we haven't even imagined to develop yet. You just think of extrasensory perception, telekinesis, and so forth. There are all kind of powers that our brothers and sisters of other planets have, that are still latent powers within us. And Helena Blavatsky and others in the Theosophy have taught us that not only do we have these powers, but we can develop, but that we can develop them. So they're all on this sliding scale, and of course, scientists in a more technical aspect have looked at it and said that there's a ranking of civilizations in space, 1 through 4. We're still at level 1, but we'll soon be technologically at the next higher level, where we'll be able to share a common planetary energy grid, where that will be unified socio-political, economic systems of sharing and cooperation and so forth. But these won't come about until we developed our spiritual maturity to at least a level that matches our technological development. Until we do that, we're actually a danger, not only to the other planets in our solar system and perhaps beyond, but most importantly, we're a danger to ourselves. So this is something very important to keep in mind.
Right. I think that we pretty much, people are asking whether there's a debate about to take the COVID shot, and then other people say no, it's blood clots. But that's, that I'm not sure that we want to even get into that topic.
Well, all I could say is that it's a very complex subject because there are so many different, there are dozens of varieties from all kind of different countries. And it's really something that individuals should discuss with their doctor, but I don't think it's a good idea to force it on anybody. They consult with the doctor that they trust and make up their own mind in this regard. But it's not the end of the world.
Now, one major question was, where can people get your books? Where are your books available?
Okay, my books are available on headlinebooks.com and also on Amazon.com. But right now, Amazon has run out of practically every Venus book, although I understand that they just recently received another order. But if they go to headlinebooks.com, they'll be sure and get one, and they could pre-order the new one, Flying Saucers and the Venus Legacy.
Very, very good. Now, is there anything that you had wanted to say today that you didn't get a chance to, Dr. Keller?
Well, I really appreciate the work that you're doing, Dr. Weber, with the exopolitics, because it's an aspect that's been long overlooked in human events throughout history. I mean, there have been societies and groups that have talked about alien influence in a kind of hush hush tone. But this is very important that it's coming out in the public, and that now we have this disclosure that at least there's a recognition that there is an advanced technology behind this, even though they haven't said it's extraterrestrials. But back on the 16th of January of 1949, right after Project Sign concluded, the first government-sponsored study by the Air Force of flying saucers. In an official statement about flying saucers, it said that, yes, we are ready to recognize that there is a technology behind these objects. However, we are not willing to state that it is extraterrestrial. And it's funny that on the 25th of June of this year, on 2021, the government issued the exact same statement that they did back in the beginning of 1949. So, hey, that's one that was 50 baby steps back and one big step forward over all those years.
Yeah, which brings up an issue. I am one of three co-organizers. There's Garpin Jean Vadnais in Montreal, Quebec. Garpin is doing the French anchor, and Ananda Bosman in Vancouver, BC, is doing the English anchor, and myself and Dani Morone in Argentina, Buenos Aires, is doing the Spanish anchor. On August 21st, we're holding an international academic and scientific response to the January 25th statement by the defense chief and the Pentagon, etc. As a major academic student of UFOs, etc., and we're just asking people who want to contribute to this international press conference to make a 4 to 6 minute video statement and submit it to Garpin in Montreal by August 12th. That's 12 days from today, July 30th. If I sent you all of the information, I've already completed my video statements in English and Spanish. It just took me a few minutes to do it. would you be interested at all in doing video, a video response to the to the June 25th statements?
Oh yes, I'd be happy to.
Oh, great. So after this program, I'm going to send you an email invitation. It'll be very brief. It'll just have the links to the 3 statements on the 25th, and then just where you can send the your video statement. And then on the 25th, on August 20, where you can send your video statement by August 12th, and then on August 21st, where you can tune into the World Press Conference.
Oh, that'll be be ideal. I'd be very happy to.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy to do that. I did have 2 announcements.
Oh, sure. Go. Please.
One is that the 22nd of August. This will be free. I will be at Unity of Sedona. That's a church in Sedona, Arizona, from 1 to 3 p.m. And I will have the new book with me, as well as another document, which is remaining secret and until then. And you're welcome to come there and come out and meet the Cosmic Ray. And then on the 26th through the 29th, I'll be in Mount Shasta, California, for the Hierarchy of Light conference. That one is already sold out for the 4 days, but I think individual days are still available. And further information can be had from Rob Potter at The Promise Revealed. Mount Shasta conference.
Excellent. Well, we are so grateful, and the chat says thank you very much for this conversation. Thanks so much in love and light. Thank you, Professor Raymond. People are very overjoyed, and we look forward to your joining us again in the future, Dr. Raymond Keller.
It's always my pleasure, Dr. Weber, my brother in the light and in the truth. And I look forward to seeing you again. I hope I get to meet you in person one of these days real soon, too.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we're going to end this broadcast. And thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for your questions and your interactions. And thank you. Okay, so we're ending.